Former United States President Donald Trump was shot during a campaign rally.
Gunfire erupted at a Donald Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday, sparking panic in the crowd as Secret Service agents rushed in to swarm around the Republican presidential candidate. Trump emerged with blood on his right cheek and ear, and he defiantly pumped his fist in the air before being ushered to a waiting car. The shooter was dead, and the Secret Service was investigating the shooting as an assassination attempt, a source told Reuters.
The injury is not serious. A suspected attacker was also killed. Donald Trump was injured in what the FBI said was an attempted assassination at an election rally in Pennsylvania on Saturday evening, an act of political violence that threatens to upend an already tumultuous U.S. election race and deepen the country's polarization. The former president was injured in a volley of gunfire at 6:15 p.m. from an elevated position outside the venue, according to the U.S. Secret Service. The shots killed one spectator and critically wounded others, all of whom were male, according to authorities. Trump was immediately rushed off stage to his motorcade, with blood visible on his right ear and streaking across his cheek. He pumped his fists and shouted "Fight" to the crowd before being driven away. The Secret Service, which is responsible for protecting current and former presidents, said the suspected shooter had fired multiple shots towards the stage before being killed by its agents. The FBI called the incident an assassination attempt against our former president Donald Trump. The FBI later identified the suspected shooter as Thomas Matthew Crooks, 20, of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania. The shooting drew condemnation from across the U.S. political spectrum, with President Joe Biden, who spoke to Trump late on Saturday, describing the incident as sick and a reason why we have to unite this country. "There's no place in America for this kind of violence," Biden said. International leaders also denounced it. The gunfire erupted just minutes after Trump began speaking at a rally of supporters in Butler, a rural town in northwestern Pennsylvania. Witnesses and footage suggested 7 or 8 shots were fired. Writing on his Truth Social platform, Trump said he was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear. "I knew immediately that something was wrong in that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin," he said. "Much bleeding took place, so I realized then what was happening." He offered his condolences to the families of the killed and injured attendees. Law enforcement became aware of the shooter only after shots were fired, according to an initial assessment. Asked at a news conference if the incident marked a failure of security, FBI agent Kevin Rojek said it was too early to make any determination, but added it was surprising the perpetrator was able to fire several shots. Rojek also declined to comment on the shooter's motive or the type of weapon used. Trump left Butler County and later flew to New Jersey. Biden was briefed on the shooting soon after the incident. "Apparently he's doing well," the president said of Trump in brief remarks from the police department in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where he has a holiday home. "You cannot allow for this to be happening. You cannot be like this. We cannot condone this." Biden continued, "The bottom line is that the Trump rally is a rally that he should have been able to conduct peacefully without any problem." Biden was set to return to the White House at 12:30 a.m. on Sunday morning, a spokesperson said. A Biden campaign official said the president's re-election campaign was pausing all outbound communications and working to pull down our television ads as quickly as possible. The apparent attempt on Trump's life is the first time in decades that a current or former president has been a victim in a shooting. It comes less than 4 months before the presidential election in November, and ahead of the Republican National Convention next week, when Trump is set to formally accept his party's nomination for president. Trump's campaign said after the shooting that he still looks forward to joining supporters at the convention. U.S. politics has been plagued in recent years by deep divisions and heightened political rhetoric, with sporadic eruptions of violence over the past 4 years, including the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol by Trump supporters. Some Republicans were quick to attribute blame for the incident on Biden's political rhetoric. J.D. Vance, the Republican Ohio senator and potential Trump running mate, said the central premise of the Biden campaign was that Trump was an authoritarian fascist who must be stopped at all costs. That rhetoric led directly to President Trump's attempted assassination, he said. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department would bring every available resource to bear in the investigation, which the FBI said in a separate statement it would lead. Mike Johnson, Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, wrote on X that he had been briefed on the situation and was praying for President Trump. Johnson later said the House would conduct a full investigation and subpoena the Secret Service Director and other federal officials to testify before congressional committees ASAP. Chuck Schumer, the Senate's top Democrat, said in a statement that he was horrified by what happened, adding, "Political violence has no place in our country." Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, and former President Barack Obama were among those who echoed that sentiment, with Hakeem Jeffries, the top U.S. House Democrat, saying he was thankful for the decisive law enforcement response. It is not yet clear what might have provoked the assailant. During Trump's campaign for his first presidential election, there were rumors that he had asked Russian President Putin for help.
We begin with this morning's top story, Russia's apparent interference with the U.S. presidential election. Intelligence sources tell CBS News that U.S. officials believe Russia not only tried to influence the election, but also worked to help Donald Trump defeat Hillary Clinton.
The news was first reported last night by the Washington Post. The paper says the CIA shared with a group of senators a secret assessment that electing Trump was Russia's goal. Just over a month before the election, 17 U.S. intelligence agencies accused the Russian government of hacking emails from the Democratic National Committee and Hillary Clinton's campaign, which were then published on WikiLeaks. Earlier intelligence assessments concluded Moscow's actions were aimed at eroding confidence in the American electoral system. But according to the Washington Post, the latest CIA assessment found that the operation was aimed at boosting Trump's chances of winning the White House. Additionally, the New York Times reports that Russia also hacked the Republican National Committee, but did not release any of that information. Republicans deny this.
The Trump transition team responded to the news with a statement reading in part, "These are the same people that said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. The election ended a long time ago." Russia has in the past denied interfering in the U.S. election. There was no comment from the White House.
The news came just hours after President Obama ordered a full review of Russian hacking during the campaign. For more on all of this, we're joined by Washington Post columnist Catherine Rampell. Catherine, good morning.
Good morning.
Catherine, the Trump campaign is issuing a fairly broad dismissal here of the evidence. Do you think that there is any chance in the coming days that the president-elect changes his position?
Has the president-elect ever publicly changed his position when it comes to his own legitimacy about the win? No. I think that the campaign or the transition team and Trump himself are going to view this through a partisan lens, regardless of what the results are, and are going to say this is an attempt to delegitimize his win, to delegitimize his future administration, and therefore all of the conclusions that would come out of such a report are suspect.
Later, Trump was described as an American enemy by the president of Ukraine, Zelensky.
He's on the verge of becoming the Republican nominee for president. The last time I interviewed him, he refused to say if he wanted Ukraine or Russia to win this war. Are you prepared for him to be reelected?
If Donald Trump doesn't know whom he will support, Ukraine or Russia, I think that he will have challenges with his society, because to support Russia, it means be against Americans.